Peace. What's happening, good people? We are live and direct. This is Black Power Media. I'm your host, Kalonji Changa. And who am I with tonight?
Natasha X, until one day it's no longer Natasha X, but an African name. So until we reach that point, you live with Natasha X and Kalonji Changa.
We're in the building. This is a very special show tonight. We haven't seen you on here in a while, Natasha. When's the last time you've been on
here? Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay. Yeah. We're happy to have you, and we're happy to broadcast this program tonight. For one, it could be better circumstances, but we're definitely happy to broadcast tonight. We wanted to bring on a couple hosts from Black Power Media. Of course, we have Natasha X, as we just mentioned, but also we have our main man, Charles Barron, in the building. What's going on, Brother Charles?
Let me say my off mute. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
We hear you well.
Oh, right on. Let's get it on.
You gotta learn how to work the board, Charles. Forget about it now.
So you're gonna get in trouble. When I learn this stuff, you are in trouble, my brother. You and my wife always dissing me. They're gonna be in trouble.
How are you, Mr. Charles?
I'm doing great. I feel good.
No doubt. Glad to have both of y'all here tonight. We got a real cool show tonight because of the fact that we're honoring our comrade, our shero, our modern day Harriet Tubman, someone who has inspired, I believe inspired all three of us and probably everybody viewing and listening tonight. You know what I mean? But before we get started, before we start running our mouth, I think it's only right that we bring on someone that knew her better than we did. You know what I mean? So I think we'll start off with her daughter, Kakuya, who was one of the main, if not the main speaker on this past Saturday. So we're gonna go ahead to Kakuya real quick, and we'll be right back at you, and we'll tell y'all what's going on. Don't go nowhere. Black Power Media.
I want to thank you all for coming here tonight to be with my family. Thank you so much for bringing with you your love and your prayers and your appreciation of the beauty that my mother brought to this world during her 78 years of life. Tonight is a liberating moment for my family. After more than 50 years of isolation and 50 years of quietly counteracting the mainstream narrative amongst ourselves, this is a liberating moment that allows my family to affirm the truth of who my mother was, with people who can appreciate the anguish of what this history has been for my family, and the beauty of what my mother was fighting for. Tonight, I want those who loved my mother to find some gentle solace in this bittersweet moment. Despite the throbbing loss, and despite the silence left in the absence, I hope there is some comfort in this moment of triumph, in this moment that gives proof to the notion that every spawned breath of freedom cannot be quelled. Despite an overwhelming display of vitriol, there is the burgeoning resistance that always rises from the muddied wake of oppression. The fact that my mother did not die in chains. cowering or dispirited or uncommitted or acquiescent is a testament to the fortitude of the human spirit. And this indeed is triumphant. There is triumph today after all of the illegal tactics to suppress a movement, after the brutality of incarceration in the most inhumane conditions, after the uncertainty of a sprouted dawn. There is triumph in that my mother's revolutionary spirit could not be broken. And neither could the spirit of her comrades, and neither could the spirit of the people who recognized her virtue and stood with her in solidarity. You are here today as evidence that the river spirit of the people cannot be dredged and flows onward from our ancestors who have died, fulfilling their duty to sway us closer to freedom. I want to give thanks to all of the people who kept my mother free. A modern-day underground railroad of people that cherished her and ensured her safety. Words cannot express my infinite gratitude for your selfless act of love and for your sacrifice. And although we are gathered here tonight in the wake of my mother's passing, I want to assure you that this story is not etched in a lifeless past. It is alive in all of you who are present here today, and all of you who loved my mother and still love her, and all of you that protected her physical body and now continue to protect her spirit and her legacy. It is alive in those of you who have studied her words and will continue her tradition of radical struggle, of audacity to transform this world, to dismantle the caustic framework that erodes the righteousness of the human soul, and to reimagine a society that actually values all human life.
We that was a powerful piece. You two were in the building. What was that like, hearing the daughter of Assata, who, for all practical purposes, in the physical form, she lost both her mother and father. Her mother, of course, being Assata Shakur, and Kamal Siddiqui, who is a political prisoner at this time. You know, I won't say she lost them. She's gained an ancestor, and we're fighting to, you know, liberate the other. What are your thoughts? I want to start with you, Brother Charles, because I know that I spoke to you on the side, you being a veteran Panther and you being in the building, seeing many of your comrades, so on and so forth. What does this piece of this speech mean to you?
Wow, man, you know, first of all, the place was packed. You know, at Riverside, they hold over 2,000 people, and there was a standing room, people up in the balcony. So every word that was uttered was met with a rounding spirit and a rounding applaud. I think people were liberated for that moment. To hear her daughter, you know, they say the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. What a job Assata did with her daughter, much less all that she did in the movement. So it was for everybody there and every speaker that came, but especially her, people were just like touched profoundly. You could sometimes hear a pin drop, and then right after the pin drop and the silence, when something was said, it's almost like a united burst. You know how sometimes when you're in audiences, you might get a row of claps in the crescendo, and then it starts to, but this was like spontaneous. Everybody at the same time, it's like 2,000 people reacted at the same time. Spirit was strong. It was powerful. I think every speech that was made was greeted with the same kind of reaction, but especially for her daughter. It was just unbelievable. I've never seen and heard anything like it.
Yeah, and I think
before. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, I think also to add to what Baba Charles is saying, that there were like the energy was also very electric in that place. Like, you really felt like at one point I was thinking, man, well, imagine if we had something like this in terms of like the energy in the room every month, like, you know, like a once a month thing where, you know, we just get recharged, because that's what it really felt like. It felt like a recharging for those of us who, you know, have been doing the work and, you know, like doing it, being in it. We know that, you know, like it's joy and it's work, and that you need those moments of being recharged. And I think that to be able to be there and to be in that room and feeling that energy was a testament to like Assata, and also the way in which through her daughter, through Kikuya, you saw, you know, that presence of Assata in terms of, especially I was thinking about just like her artistic side that they were talked about a lot, that, you know, people didn't know too much about Assata. And I felt like in her speech, she like, that really came out to me. Like, it was heartwarming and it was moving, and it really, you know, made you sit up and really pay attention and listen. But also it was like, there was like a soothingness within the way that she was delivering and she was speaking, that I was really taken aback by, which was really in a great way.
And it was powerful for me. It's like, I came shortly, I think she just finished or whatever, but you can still feel it. It's almost like you can cut through the spirit and the power and the energy. It's almost like there was a force of Assata's soul in that captured everybody. So no matter who spoke, you always, it's like Assata was there, and she was enjoying every minute of it, especially with her daughter.
No doubt. We definitely will be playing the speech in its entirety. We'll have it on the platform, but we have, thanks to Natasha and our videographer Edwin, the work has been captured. So there are a number of different behind the scenes interviews that'll be coming up. But before we go there, you know, we played Kikuya. I want to play one of Assata's comrades who knew her very well and was partly responsible for her even joining the Black Panther Party. And that's and this particular clip didn't get played at the celebration for whatever reason, but we're going to play it here today. This is Ruba Ben Wahab.
Solidarity and greetings to all gathered to commemorate and reflect on the life. Solidarity and greetings to all gathered to commemorate and reflect on the life and legacy of Assata Shakur. I am indeed appreciative of this opportunity to address this momentous gathering of comrades, friends, and family of my comrade Assata. I know that many of you gathered here today may not have known Assata, but are instilled with and inspired by her lifelong resistance and revolutionary struggle against the white supremacist settler construct that is the United States of America. I also appreciate that some of you gathered here today actually knew Assata, aided and supported her during her long exile in Cuba. And to these comrades, I salute you and express my profound gratitude. Finally, to those gathered in this iconic Riverside Church in Harlem, who in their own way have struggled for the liberation of African people, oppressed people, the downtrodden, the disregarded, wretched of the earth, I salute you. We may seem as strangers to one another, but we are only comrades who have never met. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell the unvarnished truth about Comrade Assata. It was during the early 70s when our retaliatory resistance against the armed agents of racist state terrorism assumed organized intensity. Police murder of black youth, accompanied by the plague of heroin addiction, informed the legacy and legend of Assata you now pay homage to. Few of you gathered here today would have ever heard of Assata were it not for the emergence of the Black Liberation Army. I say this because despite scholarly deceitfulness surrounding the BLA, Assata was a soldier in the centuries-old war against African people, a war that began with the North Atlantic slave trade, a racist war that continued to this very moment by violent and nonviolent means. The scholarly deceit I speak of lay in the denial of this war and the deceptions that black people fought for civil rights rather than for human rights, and that human rights can be granted by the inhumane rather than appropriated by those criminalized and defamed. This fact is important because Assata was not an innocent victim of police repression, shot wantonly with her hands raised in submission. She was a revolutionary, and revolutionaries are never victims of injustice. How many freedom fighters were wantonly killed in the struggle for the liberation of their people? Medgar Evers, Amilcar Cabral, Che Guevara, some murdered even while surrendering. Facts speak louder than fiction. In 1971, Assata wasn't a designated FBI COINTELPRO target. She was a medical cadre of the National Committee to Combat Fascism in Washington Heights, Harlem, New York. The NCCF chapters were formations of the original Black Panther Party. Indeed, by 1972, COINTELPRO had already achieved some of its significant victories with the assassination of Malcolm X and of Dr. Martin Luther King and the breakup of SNCC. Earlier in late 1971, COINTELPRO was reconfigured as NUKIL and CHESROB. Both were acronyms for the FBI's repressive campaign authorized by the Nixon White House, specifically targeting the emergence of the Black Liberation Army and its clandestine leadership, one of whom was Joanne Chesimard, hence the acronym CHESROB for Chesimard robberies. I choose to remind everyone of these historical facts rather than repeat historical fantasies of Assata's victimhood. Why? Because Assata was a warrior in the tradition of Harriet Tubman, in the tradition of Denmark Vesey, and our ancestors who resisted the brutality, murder, and enslavement of African people for over 300 years. In the struggle for freedom, revolutionaries are never victims or innocents. Assata was not an unfortunate victim like George Floyd or Clifford Glover. She was a conscious, committed, revolutionary freedom fighter. And in this historical moment, we should be mindful of that. We should be mindful that white supremacy and the American empire are now in precipitous decline. Besieged by the global South emerging unity, white America has become increasingly lawless. And like a rabid dog backed into the corner, capitalist white supremacist state, violence, no limits. The land that gave Assata refuge, Cuba, now faces imminent attack by the U.S. in its attempt to reassert the Monroe Doctrine of the 19th century in the Western Hemisphere. The people of Iran are under attack by the U.S. and its Zionist white supremacist cohorts, Israel. We must demand peace in Western Asia and an end to Zionist settler expansionism. My beloved comrades and friends, we should not merely eulogize Assata. We should live like her. In this historical moment, revolutionary resistance to the racist, imperialistic, and violent enemies of humanity require nothing less. Long live the spirit of Assata Shakur. Long live the independence of the Cuban people.
Mm-hmm.
This is Black Power Media. Man, that was Let me hear some feedback. What y'all think about that?
Played at the memorial, because that was powerful. As always, the Ruba was there. He's not speaking from what he read or heard. He put his life on the line, and he was right there. And I like how the Ruba puts things in their proper perspective, lets us know where the struggle is now, who our real enemies are, who our friends are. And he just makes it plain, and he speaks truth to power. But people don't understand what the Black Liberation Army members and the Black Panther Party members, I was only 17, 18 when I signed up in the Harlem chapter, but I was not known. I just sold my paper in the streets. I didn't have to suffer the things that the Black Panthers suffered. I brought my papers on the Lower East Side. But the brothers and sisters that had to give up their lives, it wasn't like they did the struggle after work or on the weekend. And it wasn't like they had jobs and, then I can't make this meeting, so I'll be at the next one. I mean, they were in houses and apartments, 8 and 9, 10 Panthers, and everybody's trying to survive. Their lives are put on the line. I don't think people really understood what the Panthers went through. I was fortunate. I wasn't known. I was out in the street doing my papers, but the leadership of what they went through. So I always like hearing from the Ruba because, like I said, he put it on the line. And then when you look at the life of the Black Panther Party and look at what they had to go through in New York City, the Panther 21, I remember the days going to the trial. The brother that recruited me was Mark Holder. Mark Holder was a member of the Panther 21, and Tony Martin, he lived in my housing development. I used to debate them because I was on the Lower East Side in the projects, and I used to say, come on, y'all talking all that stuff, but what are you really doing? And they said, come on up to Harlem. I remember we was in a car one day listening to Eldridge Cleaver's record, Dig, and some of the profound, and we had to read, what's his name? Michael Tabar, Setwayo. We had to read his pamphlet, Dope Plus Capitalism Equals Genocide. And when I came there, I thought the first thing that was going to happen is that we're going to get guns and they're going to teach us how to, use all that. But the first thing they did was give us books. We had to get the Little Red Book and Miles' book and Axioms of Kwame Nkrumah. And all of the heroes that I had at that time were America's enemies. Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, Kim Il-sung in North Korea, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba. All of these were our heroes, but yet were enemies to America. And all of the dictators that were murdering people all over the world, Duvalier in Haiti and Marcos in the Philippines and all of course, Batista in Cuba. So it was a political awakening for me. Right now, the same things in the 10-point program that we had to study and want is what I want now. I brought that into City Hall because the issues, are the same. So when I hear Dhoruba and I see the time that he put in, or I was very close with Sekou Odinga and Herman Bell, and these brothers and sisters that went through all of that. I'll never forget Joan Bird. Joan Bird was a sister who was beaten. She was very tight with Afeni Shakur. I was very close with Afeni, but Joan Bird was beaten badly by the police. And it was good to see Setua and Talib Shakur. They were both there, and we got a chance to talk and meet. But people just don't understand that the life of a Black Panther or a Black Liberation Army member, what they sacrifice. And just, it burns me up to know that a lot of these teenagers don't even know their name, or a lot of these folk in college don't even know who they are. But for now we are getting it on the map more. I think this was important, that this celebration and commemoration of Assata was the commemoration of someone who served, and she was the best of us.
No doubt. Definitely appreciate that, brother, bringing that. And for folks that don't know, the Rube actually has a show on the platform every Friday, Beggars on Horseback at 10 a.m. If you're new to Black Power Media, I got to tell you, if you can't get nothing else, you're going to get pure, unadulterated, revolutionary fervor. You're going to get political education. You're going to get information. Thursdays, every Thursday, 7 p.m. EST. You can catch Baba Charles and Mama Inez Barron on Operation Power. And their show is doing wonders. Their show is kicking everybody else's butt right now. We ain't going to talk about the numbers, but definitely we're absolutely inspired and on fire. Natasha, before we go to you, I would like to play a couple of the clips that you all, because I know you all interviewed some people. Can you talk about what that was like? Because one of the things that we're looking to do as well, as far as Black Power Media, is being on the scene. So if you have any events or any functions, so on and so forth, we want to be there. We want to make sure that we have a crew out there, document, because that's the purpose of this platform. This platform is not for us to get a bunch of likes and to just be looked at, so on and so forth. We're looking to educate and inspire. So Natasha and one of the other brothers was on the scene a couple of days ago, and they captured some great footage. So Natasha, if you don't mind, lead us on some of that and tell us, what that was like.
I think, it was just an honor to be able to cover what was, her memorial, because I think that when we think about like our heroes and the kind of like reverence and just attention that we should be placing upon them so that everybody can know who they are, about those who fought for us and the sacrifices they made and the brilliance of them and all of the things that they can stand to learn from them as examples, that if nobody else is going to do it, we know that, that the mainstream is going to do, we know the state is not going to, cover that. And so I think it's an honor to be able to be on the ground and to be able to cover it in the way that we were able to cover it, so that we can continue to lift up Assata Shakur in the way that she needs to be lifted up. Like, we should have as many, Black media, as many Black media companies that we have should be covering this, right? Should have been covering it. So it was just an honor to be able to do that. And, like I said before, it was also an honor, I felt the energy, but it was also an honor to be able to talk to some of the people that were there, everybody who was in that room was inspired by Assata in some way. And that's one of the things that, we really wanted to see, like, what impact, because we know Assata's impact is long and it's strong. And so we wanted to see what impact Assata had on everybody, because we know we're all individuals and we all are playing our role within the work that we're doing within the movement. But we know that it's showing up differently, and that Assata's effect on us and inspiration that she's been shows up differently too. And so how do we get the voices of those of us who, have been impacted and inspired by Assata? And so I think that's what we were able to do, talk to a couple of people. We weren't able to talk to everyone, but I think we were able to get, a sense of what Assata meant to us who are doing the work, and what we still have to do, and how we have to make sure we include the youth, and what we should be telling them, and how they can continue the work of Assata Shakur, and how we can continue to carry on her work as well. And so I think, we're grateful for being able to talk to people talk to us, and, just hug and see and talk to, and, break bread with so many revolutionaries that have done the work, that are elders now, and to pay respects to them, and those who are coming up, for them to be in that space and to be around the elders and have that intergenerational exchange and be inspired. So, that's what I would say about being able to be there on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go to, yeah. But real quick, I want to just say this real quick, because part of what made it possible for us to be there, I want to definitely shout out the children of two of the organizers, which are the children of Fulani Sunni Ali, Ahmed Obafemi, and Baba Bilal Sunni Ali. That would be Aisha Obafemi, and also Princess Madaya, who also, along with their sister Santiwa, has a show on Black Power Media as well. It's called Daughters of the Whirlwind. So I wanted to salute them and shout them out as well. We didn't just appear because we were the blackest people we knew. It was because of the fact that there were people that actually rock with us, because sometimes being Black Power Media, sometimes you too black for BET, like the rapper said. So we would always get invited to everything. So let's not get it twisted. But go ahead, Baba Charles. I know you want.
No, I just want to say, because you mentioned youth, and one of the more impressive presentations was my good friend, my comrade Jamal Joseph. Jamal, he did a profound thing with his youth, and matter of fact, we've done a couple of things together. But Jamal Joseph, Impact, that's right.
Yeah.
Repertoire. They were there, and of course he always speaks highly of them. But I remember Jamal used to be right on the corners and selling the papers. And when I would come up to get mine, because I would bring mine down to the Lower East Side. I didn't work in the Harlem branch. I worked on the Lower East Side with Felipe Luciano and the Young Lords, because they were on the Lower East Side. And then there was this Asian group called the Iwa Kin, and they were the Black Panther equivalent in Chinatown. So we used to be like down on the Lower East Side area. But Jamal Joseph, he was the one that I was most impressed with, his energy, and to see him still out there, and he delivered some very powerful stuff with his youth, and to see him still in the struggle. So I just want to always give a shout out every chance I get to Jamal Joseph. Panther Baby, that's the name of his book.
No doubt. I want to share a few clips with us. We have a pretty good amount. I'm gonna show y'all how gangster Natasha is. Natasha, like, look, I'm coming back here. I'm interviewing everybody. I said, okay, Natasha, like certain people, I know they ain't taking no interviews. Natasha, like, bump that. I'm Haitian. I'm a revolutionary. I'm coming back with the joint. I'm like, okay. In my mind, Baba Charles, I'm like, she might be able to interview Charles. Maybe. But that's about it. I don't know who else she gonna come. Yeah, I'm like, okay, all right. But this is one of the clips right here from that they brought back.
Assata represents commitment. Assata represents being in the struggle. The very name Assata means she who struggles. And she showed us what it means to commit one's life to struggle, to devote an entire lifetime. And I think that this memorial represents people who have been moved by her, who have been changed by her over years, over borders, and I think that what we can do is vow to keep her legacy alive, and keeping her legacy alive means guaranteeing that generation after generation after generation, there will be people like Assata, like many of the people attending this memorial, who will commit themselves to struggling for radical change for Black people and for all oppressed people.
And one last question. So for the youth, what would you tell them for how they can continue on her legacy?
The youth are always at the forefront of revolutionary change. Young people are closer to the future. The future has more meaning for those who are just emerging into adulthood. And therefore, they have a greater stake in the future. So I would say two things. That they should learn from the past, learn from Assata, learn from all of those who have devoted their lives to the struggle. But at the same time, think creatively, bring new ideas into the struggle, because this is a new world that we're inhabiting, one that has been shaped by all of the movements that have unfolded previously. So those of us who are older should look toward young people for leadership as well.
How you doing? I'm Akinyele Umoja. I'm an author, a scholar, activist, founder of the New African People's Organization and Malcolm X grassroots movement. I've been in the movement for over 50 years. And I remember first finding out who Assata was. It was 1973. We got a newspaper clipping somebody brought to a meeting about an incident in New Jersey Turnpike. And then after that, along with other political prisoners like the Republic of New Africa 11 or Geronimo Gijaga, we got petitions signed, just try to educate the public. But then one of the happiest days in my life was November 2nd, 1979. I was actually here. I was picked up from the airport, now I say here in New York, picked up from the airport, and a comrade went to his apartment and told me Assata had escaped. 3 days later, we had a march to the United Nations calling for self-determination, human rights for our people here in this country. 5,000 people from Harlem to the United Nations, and hundreds of people were having signs, Assata Shakur is welcome here. And then that day, someone read a statement from the Black Liberation Army, said not that she escaped, that they had liberated her. So some of the happiest days of my life. And I finally got to meet her in Cuba, and just happy to be here and happy the community is celebrating her life and supporting her family in this celebration. Ashe, and free the land.
And what would you say to the youth about carrying on Assata Shakur's legacy?
Well, Assata inspired us through her actions, through her statements, through her resistance. She educated us and enlightened us through her words of wisdom. She showed in her liberation one of the greatest victories in our struggle. Nobody begged for her to get out. It wasn't legislation passed. It wasn't a court. Some Africans took, and some white folks in solidarity, we must acknowledge, took action. They liberated her, and we had international solidarity. So it shows through our own action and with solidarity of the people of the world, we can win.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And one last question. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts, and what would you say about where the movement is today and where we still need to go?
Well, we still have a ways to go, but we can't put down where we're at today. Of course, we know in 2020 there was resistance on the street. People fought back. We have in the United States over 100 cities, local people have put forth reparations initiatives. So we're in the midst of fascism. On the other hand, people are fighting. The struggle is not over. So we don't want to believe the narrative that we've been defeated. No, we're still here. People are still fighting. People are still struggling. And people are still desiring to have liberated territory and space so our children can have the blessed future that the Creator has promised them. Ashe.
Ashe, absolutely. And I also just want to say, go ahead, Kalanji.
No, go ahead. I was going to compliment your voice when you was like.
I was going to say thank you for those who, allowed us, gave us a couple words, and shared their thoughts with us and allowed us to interview them.
Well, that's a powerful interview.
We definitely appreciate it.
It's been around. You did a good job. You did a good job. I mean, that's when people get in those settings, you never know how they're going to act. So that they comply with the interview was great. But, when I was listening to him, I just remember the times that Fanny Shakur, who I was very, very close with, and just in Harlem, they had, I mean, the political prisoners in Harlem, before they even became political prisoners, the heat that they had to deal with, the stuff that they came down on of Fanny and the beatings that, you know, the Panther 21 received, and how she was so brilliant in court and got the Panther 21, you know, released. But I think our youth of today, we have to get them to understand the depth of commitment that's needed for us to be free. It takes beyond social media, you know, beyond the things that we're doing. I appreciate it, but it's not just those kinds of things. It's the deep level of sacrifice and commitment. That's why I really appreciate Fidel Castro and the Cuban people, because at least, as she always said, we have nothing to lose but our chains. So as her daughter said, which was one of the most powerful things said during the whole evening, she didn't die with any chains on. She didn't die in the belly of the pigs here in America in some prison. She didn't die at the hands of her oppressor. She died free in Cuba. And like Fidel Castro, she died on her own terms.
No doubt, no doubt. That's definitely powerful. Definitely powerful words. Thanks for that, Natasha. I don't know if I'm freezing up. Felt like I was freezing for a second. But can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little choppy, but we can hear you.
You're frozen now.
Oh, that's what happened. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to help him out. You know, that's why I got to hurry up and learn this stuff so I can help him out.
Right. He's talking about, you know, when you done learn the boards, he got to learn the boards. He need a refresher.
Refresher. Yeah, but it was a powerful, powerful event. And it serves as fuel, you know, when you go to these kinds of things, because of every struggler you can think of was there from all walks of life. I particularly appreciated Lennox Hines. You know, his piece was awesome. You know, when he said, like Malcolm said, you know, I know greetings to all my revolutionary comrades, but I know some enemies are here too. And, you know, and Malcolm would always say, in a gathering like this, you know, there's some enemies in our midst. And that's my always my concern. You know, what's up with COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program of the FBI? Who, you can't be paranoid, but who is around us? You know, who's spying on us for our oppressors? And that's why we have to be very, very cautious, careful who you trust and what you say, especially if you talk stuff you know you're not going to be delivering on. You just need to, you know, like, be very, very cautious.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, I agree with you that his piece was, I loved everything he said. And I think that we also have a clip of him that we're going to play a little later on. As it continues, because we were able to get a good amount of footage of like the whole of the event. And that's what we wanted to do. We really wanted to cover it to the best of our ability, you know, being there and being able to like really give people a sense of what it was like to be there, if they couldn't be there themselves, and also to really allow people to have the footage to be allowed for us to allow us to create an archive. Because things like this for us, you know, we know they're always building their archive, and we need to have our archive. And so being there allows us to be able to have our own archive that we're creating, because at any moment, like we know, as Daruba said, you know, the empire is falling, and so they're flailing, and you know, they're wanting to get rid of us, get rid of our information, our education, and they'll get rid of the things that, you know, are historical to us and very important to us. And so we have to make sure that we're always building our own archive. And I think, you know, us being there, being able to really capture it is really great for us as a people.
Critical.
I want to apologize. Yeah, I want to apologize because Brother Charles is our tech tonight.
I told my sister I'm going to have to learn this thing so I can teach them some lessons.
Right, exactly.
See how they do me? You know what I mean? But no, definitely, give thanks for you, and also, like you said, the people who participated, because of the fact that, a lot of times you go to different places and folks, they get kind of bougie or whatever the case is, but this wasn't that type of party. But also I want to remind folks as well, because earlier I mentioned that we would love to come to your different events. We would love to broadcast some of your events, you know what I mean, and functions and so on and so forth. But we would also love for you all to participate in the process of building a nation. And as one of our comrades said, ain't no nation like a donation. So make sure you support what it is we're doing. You can go to blackpowermedia.org/donate, and you can contribute to our work. I think it's fair to say, we bring good work. We bring solid work. It'd be nice for us to actually be able to pay our journalists, to pay the folks who are on the ground, the folks who edit and the text, so on and so forth. Because right now, as Che Guevara said, revolution is an act of love. But again, true love comes with, with us all participating in this process. I wanted to throw that out there. We have a lot going on. We have several more clips. If you don't mind, I want to play a couple short clips because of the fact that we're definitely honored that we brought that folks were, in attendance. So definitely let me, I know that Brother Charles had mentioned Cuba and Fidel Castro a little earlier. And I know that the legendary attorney Lennox Hines was on deck.
Powerful.
Yeah. And for folks that don't know, he was, for one, he was attorney for both Assata and Angela Davis.
That's right.
I believe he served as counsel for Nelson Mandela for a time as well. You know what I mean? But this piece right here, this clip we're going to play here is actually from his speech that he gave. And he's talking about, it starts off with him talking about a meeting that he had with Fidel Castro around Assata.
He then leaned over and said to me, Lennox, I read your description of Assata, and I totally disagree with your description of Assata as a terrorist. We in Cuba believe, and under international law, we granted her asylum as a political refugee. We will never give her. My friends, Cuba never submitted or bent to U.S. political or economic pressure concerning Assata. There are plans now to invade Cuba. It is no secret. The CIA operatives who are among you tonight, let us send a message to them to take back to their bosses. To get to Cuba, they must come through us.
Assata is a woman who showed me what courage is. She showed me what love is. She showed me what fight is, what hope is. She has been like a person that has been a guiding light for me throughout my life when I first got became aware of her. I didn't become aware of her till like my early 20s, but it was her words, her book, her life, and how she lived her life, and the sacrifice, and that sacrifice always stuck with me because she gave her life so that we can be free, so that we can do things and have things, and she was committed to freedom of people, humanity, black people, and ended up having to live her life away from her family for that. So that type of sacrifice is like, it's just a reminder. She always been, one of my heroes. Like if I have like a certain like amount of angels that just sit up there as my heroes, she is definitely one of them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one last thing, what would you say to the youth to carry on her legacy?
Man, find your truth, find what truth is, and spread your love, and spread love in a way that's like in a God-like manner, and spread it starting with you, like loving yourself and knowing who you are, and then making sure you're taking care of your community and being an example. And man, do the things that seem that's hard to do, when it's hard to be loving and be like respectful sometimes, but then it becomes easier as you practice it and live it. And just seek the kingdom first, put God first, and all shall be added. Love.
Wow.
Lennox Hines' speech.
Wow.
Let's start with that.
I think that was the most powerful speech of the evening. He said so much more, but that particular part, especially when he said the CIA and the COINTEL is among you, I think it was not just a cute remark. I think it was a serious, serious remark. And that's what Malcolm used to say. You know, I see some friends and I see some enemies. And if you think when we have a gathering like this and your enemy is not in your midst, that's my major concern. Now, I don't know if we developed the capacity yet or sophisticated enough to weed out COINTELPRO, to identify them and be able to weed them out. So you always got to be cautious. I'm always cautious of who I'm meeting, and even the most radical militant people. When I was in the Black United Front, and you know, we were just doing stuff on the surface, and they had the black desk of Ben Ward, who was the police commissioner in New York. And one of the brothers said, "Charles, I got to talk to you." And he confided in me. He said, whoever is in your midst talking all of this stuff, and most of them will have locks and most of them will be wearing African garb, he said, beware. So one of the things we used to do, if I was suspicious of somebody, I would say, hey, brother, hey, let me drive you home. Let me give you a lift home. And they would reject it. They would say, no. Or they would say, you know, you can drop me off at the corner here because I'm going to the store. And so there were ways that we had to deal with that. And I'm not trying to get over dramatic or nothing like that, but just to be very, very aware, because a lot of people get taken off the scene because of their inability, or they trust too much and trust too easily. But he was, to me, the most powerful speaker of the evening, Lennox Hines. And he has a history, and he had a right to have the time that he took and to lay out the things with us. But you know, my sister, you always ask the right question. And I notice people have a little challenging when you say, what about the youth? You know, what you got to say to the youth? Now, come on, like believe in God and all of that stuff. That's cool.
And that's coming from the preacher saying, that's cool.
Now, look, I believe God. Believe me, I believe in God. But come on, I don't think people have a good message, a good path for our youth. So we just say, well, you got to believe in yourself and make sure that you stop self-destructive behavior, and love yourself and love your brothers and sisters. We have to figure out what to do with our youth.
A plan of action, indeed. Natasha, you want to add on to that?
I think I also thought that, for me as a person who, one was not born in the United States, you know, came into the United States, had to learn the language and the culture, and you know, be around, you know, Black people, African people born in America, and learn what that was, and come to know the history. That as much as I've learned through my own work in the movement and my own education, like I'm always learning all the time. And for me, even being there and listening to the different people talk was an education, was a political education. And Lennox Hines' speech was also a political education. Getting to hear him speak and talk about, you know, his time in Cuba and what he did, and now learning more about him. Also, too, getting introduced to people who I didn't really know.
They told you organizing was dead.
So I think, like, definitely, like, his speech to me was very educational, like things that I didn't know, and like to Charles's point, thinking about like things that we have learned from the past and how do we take those lessons and figure out how in our time we're going to maneuver those. Like, you know, he was saying, having people who are amongst us. We know COINTELPRO happened, and we know it's not over. And so how do we figure out how to deal with people who look like us but are against us, who look like us but are against us and amongst us? How do we figure those things out? Because that's part of like educating the youth. How do we let them know, you know, the whole truth about when you do the work, there's going to be the joy and the struggle, but there's also these parts of it too that you also have to know. And we have to tell them the full story of what it is, so that they can actually make the right choices. And you know, like when Angela Davis was saying, you know, for them, you know, for them to bring a new, you know, fresh eyes to the analysis, they need to know the full story. They need to know the ins and the outs, the good and the bad, so that they can actually make a correct analysis for what we should do in our time. And so I think that's something that we're constantly figuring out. And I think that, you know, the way we're going to be able to figure that out is by listening to people who have gone through it, by listening to the elders and getting that kind of political education. And I think that's also why it's important that we were able to get this footage and we have, you know, this on recording so we could share it with the youth and we could talk about it, and that, you know, we can use these as jumping points to have deeper conversations and do more political education with the youth. You know, as a person who's in education myself, like understanding the way that I can use these things with the youth that I do work with and help them, and, you know, and walk with them, because I'm still learning and doing, you know, and we're walking together. And so, and guiding them, and, you know, them guiding me in the same way. Like, we know we're always learning from each other. It's a reciprocal process. So, yeah.
I spoke to Lennox Hines at the National Conference of Black Lawyers this past November. And he said to me, we took a picture together, and he said to me, he said, we're on the page, we're on in a file together now. and I chuckled, but he said, I'm serious.
All right.
You know, and so I say that, and you know, remembering that and hearing him in this speech, and I spoke to both of you off camera. One of the things that we have to be clear about, it was a who's who of freedom fighters in the building. You had beautiful culture workers, artists like Common, like Mumu Fresh, like Sweet Honey in Iraq, etc., all in the building. You had so many freedom fighters that were there, and that's part of the reason we wanted to do this recap as well, because of the fact that there's so many people that were there that it would have been impossible for them all to have spoken.
Right.
But I want to remind the audience and us as well. Up until about 9 months ago, or less, I believe, Assata Shakur had a $2 million bounty on her head. Active. Up until the day she transitioned. So much so that they even posted about her bounty this past May 2nd around the liberation situation, right? Or the Turnpike situation. I forget which one, forgive me. But my point in saying all this, it is impossible to do an event of that magnitude in the middle of New York City at the Riverside Church with these who's. And this is a woman that the FBI still considers a terrorist and there not be enemies in the building.
That's right.
If you believe that,
that's right.
Then I got snow to sell you in Alaska.
That's
you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the thing is, and to folks that's listening, when we're talking about counterinsurgency, it's not a cute, slick sound bite. It's not some fly words like Brother Charles just said a few minutes ago about Lennox Hines. Lennox is 80-something years old. You know what I mean? And so just as Daruba's 82, I believe.
That's right.
Sundiata, who was Assata's co-defendant,
right,
is like 89 years old. He'll be 90 next January. We are blessed to have so many warriors and freedom fighters and brilliant minds amongst us. But
That's
in the
right.
words of my mother, we got to use our head for more than a hat rack.
That's right.
You understand? Like this thing is, it's entertaining to some people that are watching this right now. Oh, that's cool, man. They had this person. Let's be clear. We're only using folks like Common in the mix because of the fact that we know that we got to use the cherry cough drop theory. Sometimes we got to make it taste so good they forget it's medicine. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not confused or thinking that the artist is our leadership. However, in the words of Che Guevara, and I'm paraphrasing, the role of the propagandist is just as important as the role of the guerrilla. You're checking out Black Power Media. Any words from you two?
That's critical what you just said, particularly propaganda. If there's any war we're losing right about now, this is why Black Power Media is so important. It's the propaganda war. The colonial capitalist propaganda machine is powerful. It's pervasive, and it's convincing, and it's controlling. So, these kinds of formats and that kind of setting, it was about 2000, but, there's 8.6 million people in New York City, and there's 2.1 million Black people, African people in New York City. We had 2,000 people there. And so the propaganda, because, you remember that film, The Battle of Algiers, when they was talking about the brother was talking to a young person, and he said to the young person he was trying to escape because the FLN was being attacked by the French colonialists, imperialists, and they wanted to get their leader out. And so he went through the rooftops of the Kasbah. And the young man, Ali Lapont, said to him, what is revolution? He said, tell me, elder, what is revolution? So the elder said, well, the first stage of the revolution is you got to light a spark. You got to get the spark lit. And once the spark is lit, the second stage, which is most powerful, you got to maintain it. You got to maintain that flame. And that might take you a long time to maintain the flame. And then he said, more important than that, winning. You ain't in there to just be lighting sparks and maintaining flames. You got to win. And the strategies and tactics for winning is incredible. And then he said, finally, my son, the most important stage of the revolution is building a new society after you win. That's the real revolution, bringing in a whole new. So I take that and I said, so did we light the spark yet? Or are we maintaining the flame? Maybe it was a spark lit in the 1960s and we're trying to maintain the flame. Because remember in that film, the FLN, they wiped them out.
Right.
They wiped them out. But the seed was planted, the spark was lit, so the masses rose up. And I'm saying that to say that I appreciate the work of some of our youth that are involved. And that's why we're going to have on our show Thursday, Lumumba Bandeli and Monifa Bandeli. Monifa was the one in the picture standing next to Hines. These two young folk, and they come out of the Black United Front movement, and his father, Adiemi Bandeli, was a part of the international section of the Black United Front. So we've known the Bandelis ever since he was a child. But to see them going forward, this is why I want to have them on Thursday, so they could speak to the youth and talk about the importance of their role that they played. Lumumba and I have been to so many prisons to meet with political prisoners, and particularly Herman Bell and Jalil Montecalm and Seth Hayes. Those are the ones we were able to get liberated. So propaganda, man. So Kalonji, you're on it,
I got one thing to say, Baba Charles, and I'm definitely shout out to the Bandelas. I'm glad they're coming on. But Baba, they ain't no youth. They my age.
Well, that's true. That's true. I guess. Look, I'm 75, so anybody that's under 50 is a youth to me.
I'm 55.
Well, you need to have a little more respect for me, my brother, because I am your elder. So you better watch how you talking to me. You understand?
Listen, where's Mama Inez at? I know to stop this man.
Look,
where's she at?
She's 80, so you better be careful, man.
I'm with you, Baba Charles. Respect your elder, Kalonji.
Hey, that's that New York thing right there. You know, these New Yorkers try to bum rush the set real quick. You know what I mean? I notice anybody with less hair than me, they say don't trust y'all. Chase them crazy bald heads out of town. Anyway, you check it out. Black Power Media, and as you can see, no matter what outlet I'm on, I'm always the bad guy, the good guys. Always. But anyway,
always,
without question. But no, definitely. And I was joking, but yeah, it's funny to what you said. I mean, I was speaking at this piece some years ago, probably about 10 years ago, and I was talking, and I said, yeah, you know, us youth, so on and so forth. And I got off stage, and my daughter said, "Oh, you a youth now?" And I was just, I was like, stay in your place. But anyway, definitely, you know, I definitely co-sign everything you just said. Is fact.
And I just wanted to add to you and Baba Charles have said in terms of like,
yeah, and respect your elders because I'm your elder.
I know I'm a youth, okay? I'm not the youngest of the youth, but I'm in there.
Weren't you supposed to ask me permission to speak?
If that was Kalonji, that was the first one.
No, nobody asked me.
I'm still quiet.
Go ahead, my sister.
Thank you, Baba Charles. So I definitely think that when we're talking about propaganda too, right? It reminds me of how everybody plays a role, and like be artists knowing that they play a role, you know, even any of our, you know, whatever position you're in. It reminds me of Imam Jamil, formerly H. Rob Brown, talking about the revolution is where you are. And so like how it's important for no matter where you are to be part of and put in your part, right? So if you are an artist, if you are a person who, you know, is in the media or whatever, you should be putting in your part as well in this propaganda machine so that we can make sure that we're getting to the youth, we're getting to the masses so that more people can support in doing this work. Because if we only have a few of us, we can do something, but the more of us we have, we can do even more than that.
Right. That's right.
You know, I'm glad you said that too. I'm sorry, Robert Charles, you had something to say because I want to respect my elders.
No, and I won't abuse it, but you know what? I want to share something with y'all that I've been wrestling with for a long time. And that is, you know, that phrase like stay, everybody got their lane to be in, stay in your own lane. And I also hear like, okay, y'all march and I'll write books, you know, and so I got problems with that.
I'm with you on that.
I got problems with that, staying in your own lane. See, when I study revolutionary movements in Africa and the Caribbean and Grenada and Maurice Bishop and them and all of that, everybody was a part of the political revolutionary party or organization. Whether you were a preacher, an intellectual, Kwame Nkrumah was the greatest intellectual in the world. He didn't say, you know, I'll write the books and give you the theory and y'all go out there and, you know, you put the boots on.
Fidel was an attorney. Che was a doctor.
That's right. Doctors, attorneys, but yet in our movement here, look, I'll give y'all, I love Dr. Cornel West. That's my man. We're very close, but
shout out to Brother Cornell.
You know I love Cornell.
I think y'all went to seminary school together, right?
No, I was no seminary. But we knew that race matters. We know that democracy matters and all of that stuff. And so, and to his credit, he did listen and he ran and said he was going to start an independent party. But just for you to provide some intellectualism, because, you know, theory has to be associated with practice, because that's how you further develop your theory. Because if you're just doing theory and no practice, that's not cool. That's not good for our movement. So my concern is that what I would tell young people, join an organization, a radical revolutionary organization, join it. Don't just get on social media talking stuff. Join a movement, an organization. And if there's none out there that fits your liking, start your own. Start your own, and then come to us who have done it before. We can give you guidance. We can give you some ideological development, but nobody should not be a part of, in my prejudice opinion, a Black radical revolutionary organization / movement / whatever. But you can't just be out there talking stuff, and we can't just be reactionary. See, right now, and I'm sharing personal stuff with y'all. Right now, I'm almost, I call myself in a active holding space, and that I'm actively involved, but I'm holding to see what I'm going to really dive into, that I'm going to put my life on the line like I did in the past and go all the way with it. But we should not allow people to talk all this stuff and they ain't a part of nothing. Nothing. I just think that it's this time, if I had a message for youth, and I know a lot of young people that are joining groups and starting their own groups, they're not just out there talking, because you know how they say talk is cheap, but we got to really, really evaluate how we deal with people that tell us, that's my lane, you stay in this lane. That's a cop-out for being inactive and putting the boots on the ground and getting dirty. Even when I ran my campaigns and we won, I'm going to stop, Kalonji, but even when I did my campaigns, I wasn't a candidate and y'all go out there. I put flyers under the doors. I went door to door. I got up in the morning at 6 and 7 and been at the church. Everything my campaign workers did, I did, and sometimes more. And me and Inez, we were talking this morning. We said, man, how did we do all of this? You know how we did it? Hard work. No magic. Hard work. So I just think out of that gathering of 2000, I was sitting in there and say, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? This was uplifting, spiritually uplifting, but where are we going with this? You know, how do we take the spirit of Assata and really get down, break them damn chains, and really get down with some serious liberation work and not just reactionary stuff? And this is what I appreciate about you, Brother Kalonji. We talked about this before. So you're not just doing Black Power media. You got boots on the ground. Y'all are doing something, you know, working something. So, hey, just needed to vent a little bit.
Hey, listen. You right now, behind the scenes, Brother Charles trying to get me to join the church. I'm just telling you that right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna get him. He's gonna. Because Jesus Christ was a Black revolutionary. He doesn't know that. He thinks he's some white boy with some long hair and blue eyes. Jesus Christ was a Black revolutionary. He talks about Marcus Garvey, right? But did you ever hear him talk about Marcus Garvey saying Jesus Christ was the greatest radical the world has ever known? Kalonji, did you know that Marcus Garvey said he serves the God of Ethiopia? Did you know he said Jesus Christ was his main man? Come on, talk to me. I
know all that, Brother Charles. I was about to say you almost had me with your last sermon, but you now messed it up again. Like my mother used to tell me when I was younger. She used to be like, "You talk too much, you're gonna make folks hate you." And I told her recently, I said, "See, you cursed me." But anyway, I was gonna say, to your point that you was talking about earlier, brother. You know, about folks not having a position. Recently, I run into this brother about 6'4", 300-something pounds. And he talking about something, man, y'all ain't really doing nothing. Y'all ain't blah, 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 this and that. I said, first of all, get your pronouns right, homie. And why are you so, who made you the leader of the naysayers? Are you liberated? Are you free? You understand what I'm saying? So all of this y'all is if it's a separation between church and state. All this y'all is if, you know, we supposed to be out here doing the work and you supposed to be criticizing. It's crazy work.
Right.
It's crazy work. But I also want to add on to something you said too, brother, because of the fact that on the flip side, some people, they don't know how to humble themselves to even join an organization. So you get 1,000, like in Atlanta, for instance, you have 40 organizations with less than 5 people in it. You know what I'm saying? So to your point about what you said earlier, if you're going to start an organization, the most important part that I took from that is that you go to those who actually have done what you're attempting to do.
Yes.
Because if you don't, because I listen to people all the time and they have these fantastic ideas, and I'm forced to sit there and listen, and I'm like, yeah, we talked about that 30 times in the last 20 years. I'm glad that, you know, you read a couple books and now you're on point. And I don't say that to them, but I'm just like, okay, that's a good idea, so on and so forth. Let's get it started.
That's right.
Because I'm a verb. You know what I'm saying? It's about action. So all that, what you telling me what we should do and what we can't do, I don't understand that language. My enemy will tell you that they can't outwork me. So you can say whatever you want to say. You could think whatever you want to think. But like I said, the proof is in the pudding. Outwork me. You might outtalk me. You might get more views than me.
That's it.
But pound for pound, round for round, where that work at? You know what I'm saying? And now you got me vetting. I want to go to a couple clips real quick while Reverend Charles T. Barron of the and his bishop in the background, Natasha, with her no good self. She up there agreeing with everything you say.
Tasha, I'm gonna pray for him. We gotta lay hands on him. When I come back, I'm gonna lay hands on him. In many different ways.
I know. See, when you say you're gonna pray for me, I'm wondering you praying on me or praying for me. But anyway, let me go to some clips real quick. Y'all ain't gonna worry me, as my father would say. Hold tight. Here we go.
Pam, what does Assata Shakur mean to you?
Assata Shakur means everything to me. That's why I'm here today. And my oldest daughter, her name is Assata. Yes, so she means a lot.
And any advice for the youth about how to carry on the work and legacy of Assata Shakur and the work she's done?
Read Assata books, look at Assata documentaries, and by all means be stay in contact with the people that's here, that's carrying on the work for her. It's not something that's hidden, it's right here. You have Assata people here.
My name is Mike Africa Jr. Assata means everything to me. Assata Shakur represents freedom, courage, bravery. She represents everything that the struggle is about. It's about making it. It's about not dying in the clutches of the system's hands. It's about freedom. And what I think the youth should do is look at her example and follow it. You know, don't just talk about it, be about it. If you want to see some change happen, you got to follow in the footsteps of the change makers.
We are fortunate to be cut, and we say cut and panther cub from a cloth from such forces as Assata Shakur. The energy here reflects, is what Chairman Fred said, you can kill a revolution, but you can't kill a revolution. Those extraordinary examples such as Assata Shakur, we say we're not honored to walk in their footsteps, but their panther paw steps. In a time of day like the stage in the game we're dealing with right now, we must recognize and acknowledge those examples as such forces as Assata Shakur. Long live the legacy of Assata Shakur. What's the call for him all?
And what would you say to the youth to continue her legacy?
I spoke at the Hampton House before I came in Chicago, before I came here. And just even laying out some examples about Assata Shakur, some discussion about Assata Shakur, you can see this young sister who's about 15, 16 years old. You can see her like this, like she come to light. She was standing up with a pride. Forces Assata Shakur, the Black Panther Party, these were not, I don't like to use the term, we don't like to use the term real role models, but these are real models. There are forces who come from your respective communities that you can relate to that dealt with contradictions. And we have examples, an extraordinary example, is that of Assata Shakur.
Sharif El-Mekki, West Philadelphia, Black Panther Party Cub. Mama Assata was introduced to me by my parents. And I was in high school when the book came out. But before that, of course, so many different stories about the work that she was doing, the leadership that she exhibited, the love for her people, our people, and she's a quintessential freedom fighter, a iconic, symbolic, but also real mama in the movement. So just super grateful for the courage, the wisdom, and the love that she showered on all of us.
And you work with the youth, so what would you say to the youth what advice would you give them for carrying on her legacy and her work?
Number one is stay committed to the movement by providing and having undying love for the people. That servant leadership that she exhibited is ultimately the bar that we all must have. Remember what she told us, the love and support each other. That is essentially the most important lesson we can have.
Checking out Black Power Media. We're live and direct. We have our brother Charles Barron, Natasha X in the building. I'm Kalonji Changa. What's your thoughts on what you all just heard?
Well, I think everybody's saying what Assata has meant to us, has meant to me, certainly to my wife, Inez, is the spirit of Assata Shakur. You see how it just touched so many different kinds of people. Pam Africa, On the Move, with the Move organization, and Mike Africa, and the Move organization, then looking at Fred Hampton Jr. and his father, Fred Hampton and the party, and had a Rainbow Coalition. But all of it points to Assata Shakur and the spirit of revolution. She was truly an authentic revolutionary. Everything that eked from her was revolution. And so that example that she's setting is like, we're going to win. We're already winning, and we're going to win because that seed that she has planted is in the minds of so many people. They say in all revolutions, the most dangerous thing that our oppressors are concerned about is when you plant the seed of revolution in the fertile minds of the masses. Steve Biko said it best: the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Assata got to our minds, and even more so after her transition, because now more people are talking about Assata Shakur. More people are motivated by her actions and her life and her spirit. So when I see the different types of people that were there, and the love that they have for Assata, and it has to match a commitment to revolution. And she made it very clear. We're talking about revolution, not reform. We're talking about revolution, not getting a program from the system. We're talking about radically dismantling this colonial capitalist system and ushering something new. That's what Assata has given to us. And you can see everybody that's being interviewed is motivated by that act of love. Her and Afeni Shakur and Winnie Mandela, those three sisters remind me of our power, our spirit of love. As Che said, we're motivated by love, not by hate, not by violence, not by wanting to kill anybody other than defending ourselves against those who want to kill us. But that's what Assata means to us.
And I think to add on too, especially, when Chairman Fred said he mentioned the 15-year-old girl when he was talking in Chicago, and how, her learning about Assata Shakur, he saw like what that, how that helped her stand up taller and was inspiring to her. And it really also made me think about, how they mentioned also at the program, they were mentioning how Assata Shakur's biography has been translated in so many languages, and that that's the impact that it's had, not just within America, but worldwide, in terms of, what her legacy is, and, for her fight for freedom, and how that's inspired other people to continue to fight. And just, I think, as Baba Charles was saying, just putting that seed, planting that seed, the difference that will make, because, the youth, and even, people who are not the youth, but maybe don't know about Assata Shakur, but learn about it, they might be now interested to go read about her and read her autobiography, and then be inspired to move and think differently and act differently. I remember when, we usually in New York have the pilgrimage to Malcolm X's gravesite every year. And I remember one year when I was teaching 8th grade, I took my students up to the pilgrimage, and, they were on the bus with the community and learning and hearing all these people talk. And one of my students who I just, like, she was still, finding her way through school. She, at the end, having learned and been there and hearing about Malcolm X and being around the people, was just like, this is the best day of my life. And, and it was surprising to me, because she was, like I said, still making her way through. And so, it just reaffirms that we have to keep people like Assata's name alive, and really make sure that just mentioning her name and mentioning her legacy and talking about it plant seeds that we might not be able to see flourish, but they're there. And so that, that's one of the things that it made me think about when Fred Hampton was giving his thoughts.
And something else, Brother Kalonji, when you can tell when we have an impact, not when we speak to each other, speak to the choir at some of these gatherings, but when I go into East New York, and my man, Daruba Ben Wahad, came to East New York and had him talk to some of the brothers and sisters of Man Up Inc. with Andre Mitchell, and how to this day they're still talking to me about Daruba. And when we talk to them about Assata, see, that's when you making some inroads, not when we just talking to each other, because we good at that. But when you can walk out your house and walk down the street and say, hey, brother man, you ever heard of Daruba Ben Wahad? Is that brother you brought to us last time? Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring him back again. I even had one time, Brother Kalonji, when I brought Robert Mugabe to City Hall. The brothers were doing what they do in the streets, and they saw me and they said, hey, Brother Barron, tried to hide everything. But they said, we saw you with that African brother, man, right on. You brought that African to City Hall, and they had a fit. And I said, well, what did I say? They said, we don't know, but we know the white people had a fit. I saw you on TV. That's when you know that we're getting through, when you can get to the brothers and sisters in the neighborhood, right off the block, talking politics.
Man, listen, and that is the stone cold truth. I was telling some folks the other day, I was at a gas station. Usually I don't do gas stations at night. Not because I'm afraid, but I'm afraid of what I might do to someone if they make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? So this particular day, I realized that, it's we kind of on E, and I'm stopping in another hood, right? So I pull over to the tank, I get out, and I see two sisters, and they looking like they looking rugged with it. And one of the sisters was like, oh shit. I'm like, and I'm looking, I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm like, I don't discriminate on who get it now. You know what I'm saying? So I look up and the sister pops her trunk. Now I'm really like, okay, what's happening? I'm moving, I'm acting like, I don't see her looking at me. And she comes out with an AR and she's like, I got your back, brother. And I'm looking, I'm like, who's she talking to? She's talking about, I got your back, brother. So she reaches into her wife and she comes out and he's like, oh, that's the brother you was talking about right there. She's like, I've been following you since MySpace. You know what I mean? And she's crying and wanting to take pictures in front of, and I'm looking around, I'm like, you sure you know who I am? You know what I'm saying? But she did. And the thing is, you know, she pulls out her weapon and she let me know, like, look, I got your back. Whatever you need. I didn't even know you was in Atlanta, so on and so forth, blase, blah. You know what I mean? But that right there, like you said,
you know you're reaching.
Yeah, it don't matter what nobody, like, you know, internet is one thing, but real life is another. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care about what you talk about on the internet. What it do when we in real life. That's the reality of it.
That's right.
Are you safe walking in any hood, USA? Can you move around? You understand what I'm saying? And again, it ain't no tough talk or nothing like that. It's like they say, real recognize real.
That's right.
Two pit bulls could be walking down the street and don't even bark at each other because they understand that it'll be a hard day's work if they got to get with it. They like, you like your eye, I like mine too. So let's just keep on moving.
That's it.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes. I'm gonna try to go for another 20 minutes if that's okay with you all. You know what I mean? Maybe to even off the hour. I want to go because, you know, one of the things we talked about earlier is we talked about you know, everyone having a role. And so I want to go to I want to take it to two sisters who are cultural workers. One is quote unquote old school, and one is kind of new school. And one is from Sweet Honey in the Rock, and the other is a Grammy nominated artist who's been supporting our movement for a while as well. So we're gonna take you to some cultural workers, and we're gonna be back at you.
All right.
My name is Carol Maillard. I'm an actress, singer, and a songwriter. I call myself an artist activist because I use my creativity to talk about liberation, freedom from the heart, from the soul, and that is all of what I am learning that she was about liberation of humanity, the freedom of the soul, the freedom of expression. I am so honored to have been able to be here today, to hear people talk about her, to feel her loving energy, to meet her family. So it has been a great honor for me to be here, like I keep saying. But I think you all ought to take a listen to everything that Queen Shakur had to say in writing. It's a blessing to have been on the planet with her.
Introduce yourself to us to the audience really quickly.
My name is Mumu Youssef, but they also call me Mumu Fresh.
And can you tell us what Assata Shakur means to you?
Man, I have been, so first of all, just as a little girl growing up, she was required reading, okay? I've seen that cover on my bookshelf my whole life. She's like the possibility of the things that we didn't even know was possible. Like the fact that she always represented this like rebellion, this freedom that we could have that was possible. Like, yeah, that against all odds, we can be free. Like that's what she represented to us. She represented like this mother of the movement, this, you know, revolutionary spirit, like the sum of all of our ambitions, you know. Yeah, and a good friend of my mom, she ended up taking one of my CDs down to Cuba to her a long time ago. So I'm excited she got to hear my music. I'm super honored. You know, when I got the call, I was like, absolutely, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm coming. Just the way that the room, the spirit and the energy, this is how I was raised. I feel like I've been in these circles since I was like a little kid at the Kwanzaa, you know, celebration. But it's just the sum of all of our parts, of all of our hope and dreams and inspiration, our collective motivation by any means necessary, the spirit of Malcolm. Like, that's what I felt in the room. I'm super honored to be able to be a part of it. So many speeches that just like gave me goosebumps and just charged my heart up. And it's been a while since I've felt that, honestly, in recent times where I felt that kind of spirit. You know what I mean? Where it's like, are we gonna win? Are we doing this? It's time. I feel like my parents been talking about the revolution my whole life. When the revolution comes, is it time? Is it not? We're doing this. So it was so heartfelt. It was spiritual. It was emotional. It was fired up. It was politically charged. It was, you know, radicalized. I mean, it's all the stuff I love. It's like, you know, whatever revolutionary dream is made of. It was beautiful, and I'm grateful to be in that number. I can say I was there, okay, on this day to honor our, beloved mother, Mama Assata Shakur. And I'm just so glad they never got her. They never got her. She died free. You know what I'm saying? Like they never got her. I mean, it just makes my heart flutter with butterflies that the American government never got her. All right. She bucked the system and got away with it. I love that for her and for all of us. So that's what it means,
Absolutely. And what would you say to the youth for what they can do to carry on her work and legacy?
Man, look to improve their environments, find what they can do to make their environments better and start with you, right? Because a lot of times with revolutionaries, they look outside to figure out how can I make the world better, make my community better. Community really starts with self-improvement. How can I become a better person? How can I be more honest? How can I be more fair? How can I keep my word? How can I connect with God deeper? How can I take better care of my children, better care of my mate? How can I, how can I care for the earth? It really, really starts with you. Charity starts at home and spreads abroad. Right? I realized that growing up in these movements, and studying these movements, what worked, what didn't work. And I really feel like the neglect of self and of course the neglect of women. The nation cannot rise higher than our women. So if we don't treat our women well, you're bound to fail. All right. So those are two things that I would say for the next generation: treat women better and do a better job at letting your revolution start inside of you. Deal with yourself, healing your childhood wounds, going to therapy, spending time grounded in the earth, clearing up your past life, your karmic debt, clear up the relationships in your family, eat better, put your hands in the earth, grow your own food. Start with yourself. You got to start with yourself, because if each person were to do that on their own internal self-work, well, then the whole community would be healed, right? And we would be in a better position to heal each other, right? Because my mom and I have a healing space, a retreat center in Virginia. And what we find that from the folks that come there to visit us is that healing spaces are not safe. A lot of community spaces are not safe. And the community wounds are deep, right? When you're harmed by the people that's supposed to protect you and ride for you, the people that's supposed to help you heal, those wounds run really, really, really deep, right? So it's very important that healing spaces be safe, that community spaces be safe, that revolutionary spaces be safe. So for the next generation, that's why I tell them, create safe spaces for real. Don't just say it. Let it actually be safe. And it can't be safe if you don't do the work on yourself, right? If you're just your ego is looking to lead something. Don't lead if you ain't got leadership qualities. It's okay to not be a leader. You don't have to, everybody don't have to lead, right? If you have the leadership qualities, you've done the work. You've done the personal sacrifice that it takes to be a leader. Cool, then be a leader. Everybody not a queen. It's okay. Because that takes sacrifice, it takes dedication. What are you willing to die for? What are you willing to sacrifice? If you're the captain, you need to be ready to go down with the ship. If you ain't ready to go down with the ship, you ain't the captain. So that's what it shouldn't be about what it look like. It should be about what it actually is. Don't worry about what it look like if you ain't worried about what it is. So that's what I say to them.
Absolutely. I shade all of that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Wow. She is powerful. I like that. That's right.
Mumu Fresh, Maimuna Yusuf, definitely a dope sister, heavy on the spiritual side, and laying it out. They had some real heavy performances there. Of course, you had Sweet Honey in the Rock, you had Maimuna or Mumu Fresh, and you also had Common. I want to play this quick performance if you all don't mind.
Sure.
Y'all cool with that? Kind of get a little bit of music and sounds up in there. And again, shout out to all the workers, all the culture workers, and all the folks who really was dedicated in the moment, and that will continue to assist in our work. This is a performance. We'll be right back. This is Black Power Media. Again, make sure you support. The numbers should be off the chain right now. We are being shadow banned, so let's be clear about that. So we need you, the viewers that's checking us out now, to share this, like it, subscribe. And it's not just some slick soundbite when we saying share, don't hoard it for yourself. You know what I mean? We got some great material, so make sure you share it. Anyway, check out the quick.
Don't forget that part, because
What's that?
I said, and donate. Don't forget that part, because I'm gonna need one of them little mics next time, like Kalanji got.
We're gonna have the pastor before we leave pass the collection plate. So, Brother Charles, you got to tell them Why is it we got to turn this water into some wine. Over here.
It reduces our revolutionary theology to passing the plate. Man, this is why we have problems.
Hey, listen, we got to pass the plate and pass the ammunition.
There
you know
you
what I'm saying? We done passing the Dutchie on the left-hand side.
That's
but anyway,
first, then the plate.
No question. Pass the ammo first. But anyway, let's check out this quick performance. We'll be right back. My delayed tech skills, huh?
Daughter Amoye Assata Lynn, because Assata affected my life in such a profound way, in such a mystical, divine way, in such a powerful way. And I was blessed to get to meet her and talk to her a little bit. And as we talked about, she has so much personality, so much, just so much love. I didn't know I was gonna get to chill with her and kick it with her. And one thing I got that y'all didn't get, me and Assata freestyle together, you know what I mean? She freestyled with me real quick. So I want to dedicate this one to her as the light that she has been for all of us. She has truly been a light in our lives and continues to be that in a spiritual form, the light.
When you need someone,
I can't hear you.
I will be by your side.
Riverside, yo, let them know about the light, y'all. Come on.
And there is a light that shines.
How it shines, Yo, I never knew a la like this. Gotta be something for me to write this. Queen, I ain't seen you in a minute. Wrote this letter and finally decided to send it. Signed, sealed, delivered for us to grow together. Love has no limit, let's spin it slow forever. Your heart is weathered by what studs did to you. I ain't gon' salt them, I did it true. Cause of you feelings I handle with care. Brothers recognize your light, they can't handle the glare. Hey, I ain't the type to walk around with matching shirts. A relationship is epic, I'm at your work. Be the one that make you happy, it's hurt you the most. They say the end is near, it's important that we close to the most high. Regardless of what happened on him, let's rely. Sing it, Mumu.
You'll need someone.
Say what? Come on.
I will be by your side.
I need to hear New York City. Come on. Come on.
And there is a light that shines.
I would shine.
Special for you.
Take it down, yo. It's like this, God. Yo, God is the Father. We came to rock it right here for Assata. We say respect. This is elevation. For Assata Shakur, this is celebration. This is how it is, yo. It comes from inside. We came to this church called Riverside. This is what it is. We speak with no fear. I know Dr. King and Tutu spoke here. Bishop Desmond Tutu. You know how we do. I'm telling you, for me, Assata was a guru. Sort of like D'Angelo. We had the voodoo trying to bring the black magic. Yo, I'm getting at it, and I can get the static and keep it all going. Looking at Kikuya, so you know I keep flowing. Showing these things, yo, I'm a Chicagoan. And when it comes to this stream, you know I keep growing. Yo, for this, yo, I do it for everybody. Rocking for the who, yo, the liberation parties that's here. You know I just steer it all down. Common sense, yo, it's clear. I can let you know I write a book, the author. Gotta give respect to who, Sundiata. Yeah, he's there, yo, he did his thing. Common sense, yo, shout out Mumu, yo, the queen. This is how it be, never will I stall. See my man talking, yo, his name is Jamal. He's a Panther that came early in the days. Sorta like Frankie Beverly, been through the maze. Back and forth, I just going off. The brother common sense like Roberta Flack, I kill him soft. Kadar, yo, you know how it is. The brother common sense gave respect to the biz marquee. The way I rock the party like the Black Panther, you can understand. I got an answer to not everything, but I just bring a dream. A dream sorta like who, Dr. King. And he can keep dreaming and dreaming on and on. When it comes to this, to the spiritual form, we feel a side of spirit, just like these lyrics. So if you come close to, you can come near it. And you know how it is, yo, you can be the bravest. I gotta say the bravest is who? Angela Davis. She did her thing cause she's the queen. We on the scene and everything is serene. And then it come to this, yo, now we all blessed. Gotta give it up to my girl Mumu Fresh like that, y'all. And you don't stop until the beat, y'all. Sing that hook, baby, y'all.
I will be by your side.
Yeah, come on and clap your hands.
Oh, darling, and there shine special for you.
One more time. I need to hear y'all sing it.
There are times
sing it, y'all.
when you need someone.
Drop it out.
And I will be by your side. Oh, darling.
Come on. You know.
And there is a light that shines special for you.
Come on, everybody up top. Come on, New York. Yo.
Tick-a-die. When you need someone.
Say what? Come on.
I will be by your side. Oh, darling. And there is a light that shines special for you. That's me.
Yo, check it. Tick-a-die. Yo, I tell you the rest when I see you. Peace.
Woo.
Yeah, that was church,
right,
wasn't it, Brother Charles?
Say what?
I said that was church, wasn't it?
Come on, man. You know, like that was the spirit. You understand? Don't lock me in a church. You understand? That was a spirit. Let me help you out.
It was Riverside Church, brother. I'm trying to.
Well, that's a white church. That ain't my church. No, let me stop. There was a sister who had that at that church. Look, I was saying Riverside. Okay, I guess so. That's where Martin Luther King did his anti-war speech and historically. You know what's so sad? That
we
church
can't bring you nowhere. That's what's sad.
No, I'm gonna behave. But that I gotta say truth. Gotta speak truth to power.
Amen.
That church, Martin Luther King could not speak in any black church in New York. Wow. He had to go to Riverside. It was a progressive white church because these Negroes that are celebrating King's Day in their churches and marching and all of that, he could not go into a black church. And Wyatt T. Walker was right up there in Harlem, and he was King's aide, but he couldn't go into a black church. Had to go into Riverside, which is a progressive white church. I think they had some black pastors in the past, but isn't that a shame? And they talk all this stuff. Dr. King, let me not get into all that stuff, but anyway.
Lay it out, brother. No,
Dr. King was a revolutionary. You know this guy, Barber, Reverend Barber?
Yeah. William Barber.
Right. William Barber. They go to Washington. Sharpton goes to Washington to have speeches and photo ops and talk stuff. Why don't they act like King? The last trip he was planning to Washington was not to make speeches. It was a poor people's campaign. And he said, we are staying here. We're going to build Resurrection City. And we're going to stop planes from taking off. We're going to stop government buildings, militant civil disobedience from operating until they pass a $60 billion anti-poverty legislation. And he died that year, and they went ahead and did it. But, Resurrection City didn't happen the way they want to. So if these civil rights leaders love King so much, then you got to love socialism, not capitalism, because King was a socialist. If you love him so much, go to Washington, stay there, be militant, and don't come back until you deliver something to the hood.
You listen to Brother Charles Barron. He has spoken. In case y'all didn't hear him, he talk about Dr. King, not Don King. You know what I'm saying? He talk about the King. You know what I mean? MLK. And definitely, that's the King they don't want to hear about. That's the revolutionary.
That's
Dr.
right.
King. That's the why I oppose the war in Vietnam King. That's the King that was rolling with Mukasa. That's the King who's rolling with Kwame Ture, now Stokely Carmichael, and Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown. That's that King they talking about. They don't want to hear that. But I want to bring something up because I almost forgot. We have a conference coming up, a summit right here on Black Power Media. It's called Organizing is the New Cool. I want to play this quick clip for y'all. All on the screen will be involved. Excuse me. We have a number of different freedom fighters. It's a who's who. We have scholars. We have attorneys, so on and so forth. And it's going to reflect what it is we do here. So check this out real quick. This quick conference promo. Brother Charles, where your tech
Wait, they told you organizing was dead, that people stopped caring, that community doesn't matter anymore. But if organizing is dead, then who fought for the rights you have today? Who marched? Who taught? Who fed people? Who built movements? For 22 years, the FTP movement has been doing the work, building community, creating leaders, educating people, and turning struggle into action. Now a new generation is rising. Freedom fighters, organizers, movement lawyers, scholars, cultural workers. And from June 26th through June 28th, they're coming together for something bigger than a conference. The Organizing is the New Cool Summit, a multi-generational strategy session for action, liberation, political education, and movement building. Limited audience, exclusive film screening, June 26th through June 28th. Register now, because the future won't organize itself.
No doubt. Make sure you all check that out. It's a 3-day summit. The first day, we will be pushing our documentary, Organizing is the New Cool, which highlights the work of the FTP movement from about 2006 to about 2019. So you get to see some of the things that we actually do when folks talk about, well, I don't know what you did. That's because you ain't been on the block long. So, we've documented it. And aside from that, we have couple comrades that you're familiar with, Brother Charles, like the late Baba Herman Ferguson. We have interviews with him, Muhammad Ahmed, formerly Max Stanford, the Last Poets, Daruba, a who's who of artists, Stick from Dead Prez, so on and so forth. And, like I said, a number of different freedom fighters. So make sure that will be the first day. But on the 27th and 28th, which is that Saturday and Sunday, we have panels, I think 5 panels on that Saturday and 5 on that Sunday. And it's dealing with everything from education to agriculture. And when we talk about education, we're talking about African education, African-centered education, urban survival preparedness, revolution as a whole. Because as you talked about, when you mentioned one of my favorite films, The Battle of Algiers, we have to figure out what happens after we win.
That's right.
And that's the part that folks don't think beyond that. We're thinking about going in the street fighting and all this other madness that most people don't want to fight. Let's be real about that. Most people aren't prepared to fight. But it sounds good on the internet. You understand what I'm saying? You can do your type bias on the internet, but in the real world, let's see how that thing works. Any comments or questions from you all before we
Well, I'll just say that revolution is a process. It's not a spontaneous act. Some people say, when the revolution coming? It's been here. It's going through a process. For those of you who are waiting for it to come, well, come on board, because it's been here. And it's what stage are we in, and what role will you be playing in it? This is what Assata taught us so clearly on, that we have to be engaged in revolutionary struggle. And our enemy is not each other, it's imperialism, it's colonialism, it's capitalism. This is our enemy. So remember this also, no form of our oppression is permanent. It's temporary. No matter how long we've been through this struggle, it's not permanent. Just like plantation slavery, I am certain that some of the brothers and sisters on the plantation said, this is never going to end. The plantation owners are too powerful. They got guns, dogs, and we're divided. We're fighting each other. Plantation slavery is here forever. Gone. Yeah, they transferred it to the penitentiary, but it's not. We're not on the plantation. I'm certain that Harriet Tubman rolled up on some folk and said, we need to get out of there. Are you crazy? You could never escape slavery. I know some brothers and sisters told her that. And she said, see ya. So all of those things that we thought were impossible happen. So what makes you think that it's not going to happen again. Some people said, Charles, you really think that we could beat the capitalist system and have socialism? I said, do you really think capitalism is here forever? It's more incredible for you to think that it's here forever than it is for me to think it could change. I have more evidence of that. Right. So I know we're going to win.
Hey, we will win.
I don't know the date, but I know we're going to win. Our struggle may be long, but our victory is certain.
Speaking of the date, your show, when does it come on for folks to tap back into it?
This Thursday. Come join us. We're going to continue this kind of conversation on Thursday right here on Black Power Media from 7 to 8 p.m. on Black Power Media. This Thursday, we're going to have Lumumba Bandeli and Monifa Bandeli, two of the organizers around that, been in it for a while, to get their perspective, show some of the stuff you've seen today, and then have some conversation on that. Where do we go from here now that we love Assata? You know, don't just love Assata, love and commit to the visions that Assata had.
Absolutely.
And since we're talking about, I'm sorry, I just want to mention Kamal Siddiqui, who was a political prisoner, who is the father of Shakur and the father of Kasise, our sister Kasise as well. You know, shout out to Kasise in the building as well. Make sure that we support the liberation of folks like Kamal Siddiqui, folks like Jeff Fort, folks like Mumia Abu-Jamal, and so many others who have been languishing in these gulags. Go ahead, Natasha. I'm sorry, I know you had something to say.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point also too, one of the things that they did also mention at the memorial, which is true, which is something, you know, we always talk about in the work we do with political prisoners, is like Assata Shakur, you just mentioned, you know, Kukuya and, you know, Kasise, Kukuya's sister, that she was a mother as well, right? And she had a family, and that a lot of our freedom fighters, they have families, they have children, their brothers, their, you know, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles, their, you know, grandparents, they're all of these things. And that we also, part of our duty is to look after one another. So, you know, to look after the families, to, you know, to see what they need, to see if we can support them, how we can support them, and to make sure that, you know, the work that they did and the sacrifices that they made for them, for the whole of the movement, that also impacted what they could do, you know, and how they were able to show up for their families. Like we think about, you know, Assata Shakur being in exile. We need to make sure that we're also supporting their families alongside of that, and just figuring, and, you know, asking and thinking of, okay, how can I show support to the families? How can I make sure we, you know, I'm contributing and I'm showing and supporting in that kind of way, in the same way that their parents or their brothers or uncles or sisters or aunts were supporting us as a people, as a community in general. And I also just, you know, add, you know, when another phrase that, you know, they also repeated at the memorial was, you know, her quote about, you know, it is our duty to fight for our freedom, it is our duty to win, right? And you know, we have nothing to lose but our change. But if you think about the beginning of what she's saying, that it is our duty to fight for our freedom, and what we've been talking about here, and the life that Assata Shakur lived, she lived the life of honoring that duty that we've been talking about, right? So it's your duty. What does it mean when something is your duty? It's not a choice. It's not a maybe. It's not, okay, maybe I might do it when I get a chance. No, it's your duty. That means you must show up and do the work. Like, you know, Baba Charles has been saying, and you've been saying, Kalanji. So this idea that freedom is something that, you know, which I was having this conversation earlier with a person, is that I think a lot of people today have been divorced from understanding that the whatever fruits we are enjoying today was because of the labor of those who fought for us before them. And that you can't, you know, freedom requires eternal vigilance. You cannot just rest on wherever we've gotten, or think that, like, cool, I don't have a duty anymore, we've gotten to this particular place, we've gotten to regular racism, as, you know, when we think about the crazy stuff people were saying before. Like, no, it is our duty to fight for our freedom, and it's our duty to win. Like you were saying, we're not just fighting just to fight, we're fighting to win. And so knowing that means showing up however you need to show up, making sure that you're actually meeting your obligation and doing the work, and remembering that it's not an ask, it's a duty. Just like you were born with freedom, you are also, if you're born out as an African person, you're born with this duty to fight for your freedom so that we can continue on the work and actually have the future generations see that freedom that we're all been fighting for generations.
That's right.
That is a powerful way to end the show. And I'm so glad that you broke that down, because it's been reduced to a slick soundbite. And so much so I hate it. I hate to hear it, because usually, truth be told, most of the folks are saying that, it's like that whole, Assata taught me. What the fuck did Assata teach you? You understand what I'm saying? What did she teach you? I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm Assata's daughter. I'm taking on the name. All of that sounds good. But even with a street organization, if you say you're a part of a certain street organization, you don't just wear the colors, you have to show and prove. You understand what I'm saying? The movement is one of the few places on the planet that you can be a rally panther. You can just dress up with the black berets and the black leather jacket and say you're a panther. You know what I'm saying? But in the real world, it ain't like that. Natasha, how can they support us? How can they keep us here? My brother Charles, Reverend Charles, look at this. We got Natasha X, Reverend Charles. Boy, we hell today.
Stop calling me Reverend. So people stop believing that. You're gonna go straight to hell if you keep messing with me.
First, you're trying to recruit me in the church. Now you're sending me to hell. This thing is ludicrous. In the words of the prophet Mike Tyson.
I quit, man.
He said you unredeemable.
I can't do it. Need a direct intervention from above.
My father said I used to walk around dressing all super militant with the fatigues and the hats and everything. And my pops was like, man, you be looking the part too damn much. He said, you need to dress like, you can blend in. So I come around a few days later with some khakis and whatnot on. Him and my uncle looked at me. He said, there ain't no hope for this dude. So it don't matter what you wear. So,
listen,
so thank you for reminding me.
We need to have a whole program on Black liberation theology, because a lot of people don't understand the power of a revolutionary theology should match your revolutionary ideology. Ideology has to combine with theology. If you in the so-called God-talking world, you got to develop a Black liberation revolutionary theology to go with a political ideology.
We got a slot for you on Sundays, brother. If you whenever you're interested, bring it on home.
Here it goes again. We're not reduced to Sunday. See, that's why you need help. You think we can only talk this on Sunday? See,
I'm just saying, brother.
What about Friday? You see,
Friday's a good day.
Look at this.
Look at Natasha in the background talking about something right. You need to be in the class first. But anyway, we about
this was great, man. One thing I really appreciate about you, and all jokes aside, this is a powerful piece, and Assata's spirit, and what you're doing with Black Power Media, what all of us are doing with that, I think is one of the cornerstones of what Assata was always talking about, and that is getting to the minds of our people, getting to the heart and soul and spirit of our people. That's why Huey was right. The spirit of the people is greater than any technology that our enemies have. And they can't win nowhere. They can't win in Afghanistan and nowhere in Africa, the so-called Middle East. They lost in Vietnam. They lost in Iran. Iran. They lost everywhere, because no matter how many bombs they drop, it can't get to the spirit of a people who are determined to be free. When people say our folk died for your right to vote, no, they didn't. They died for freedom, and your right to vote was a part of a strategy and a tactic to get that freedom. They died for freedom.
Right on. And that comes from Comes straight from the mouth of the elder. See, I'm working on it, brother.
Okay, you're showing some improvement already, man.
Thank you, brother. Since I got Natasha the sellout over there, but anyway,
the supporter of my elders.
Oh, that's you do.
Before,
And plus, she's dealing with truth. That's all.
That's it.
That's what it is.
No matter how old you are, it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. If I was 2 or 202, it's the truth.
Listen, we appreciate you all for checking us out tonight. Don't mind my co-hosts. They gonna be all right. And but we're definitely grateful. All jokes aside, make sure you check out Operation Power on Thursdays with Baba Charles and Mama Inez Barron. It's definitely a dope show. Check out some of the archives. Check out some of the archives of the whole channel. We're trying to get the Rise Up Morning Show back up. Natasha's been on vacation, her and her cohorts. Shout out to the Rise Up crew. Also, if you're in Georgia, in Decatur, our sister, Reverend Kiana, she's actually a Reverend. Reverend Kiana Jones, she's running for office. She's running for one of the DeKalb County Commissioner positions. She actually, she's in a runoff. They had an election on Malcolm X Day, and the runoff election is actually on Assata Shakur's birthday, which is June 16th. So that sounds promising.
Oh, that's
so
July 16th.
July 16th. Thank you, ma'am.
Got even more time. Well, since you mentioned her, Inez and I met with our group Operation Power, and they said it's all right. So we are going to endorse and support her.
That's great. That's powerful. We appreciate that. We're just saying this is our sister. She's our sister, so we want to make sure that, as you talked about, Brother Charles, in regards to utilizing whatever tool we possibly could to do the things we need to do. And that's the part that has to be understood, because we're talking about nation building. And you don't, myself, I'm not an electoral politic guy, but if Charles Barron, Inez Barron, Cynthia McKinney, Reverend Kiana Jones is running for office, I'm at the box. Anyway,
all right now.
Continue to check out Black Power Media. Make sure you drop some change in the bucket, blackpowermedia.org/donate. And till next time, we will see you in the whirlwind. Free them all.
Free them all.
Free them all.
By any means
necessary.
Okay. I'm glad. I'm working on this tech, y'all.
Shit sound intense here, nigga. Look, I play the block, eyes open, fist clenched, cause shit pop daily. You keep thinking it's sweet, you better stay ready. But the TV tell you calm down, relax, buy the product and enjoy the show. They like, Flo, you so serious, lighten up, I tell them to tighten up, delirious. And they don't know that the study is historical, the reason the rhyme straight ahead, not metaphorical. Now I use words to color it up, it ain't all black and white, but the wordplay gotta be right. No more rapping for rap's sake, the stakes is too high nowadays, say something, enough frontin'. I ain't expecting a nigga to be me, just be the real you, put you phone to something new, or at least give them truth, share the lesson. I channel my inner Melly Mel and gave them message. It ain't safe out here, we in a war zone, attack on your brain, you thinking that you already home, tucked in, sound asleep, oblivious, mind control, the mission to whitewash and blindfold, and it's a cold world, we still in that cold war, don't get it fucked up, you said you get fucked up, they rather me shut up, join them if I can't beat them, look I don't serve two masters, I don't need remember MK Ultra, the code name for covert CIA intelligence research. Not to get all technical and detailed, just know that they guinea pig. These tests were really rigged. The whole goal was torture and interrogation. Make a Manchurian candidate, maybe a matrix. They use LSD, a few amphetamines, other experiments, heroin and morphine. But today it's a different kind of hypnosis. Niggas pop pills, pour codeine, heavy doses, and now it's celebrated cause smack is back. They claim crack is whack. powders and a lot of noses. All of this to steer the focus. You don't know you fighting the war. You should have never win it. I told my